going to be talking about specifically different angles that they're trying to do things, as well as we're going to be connecting a lot of dots. So like I said, this isn't just a series upon what is New Age. This is a series upon what is New Age, what's involved with it, where does it come from, where is it at, who's involved with it, who's all connected to this, how is it involved with the end times, and ultimately, how is it going to become the one world religion? So we've got a lot of stuff to cover. So hang with me. So on this next part, I want to take a look at a few groups and organizations that Mark Hubbard was a part of, but I want to take my time when we do this. So, because I want to be as in-depth as possible, and I want to take our time with this, we'll be looking at just one of those organizations today, and today we are going to be taking a look at Awaken.com. And last week I played kind of a teaser of their intro video. I'm just going to go ahead and play that now so you guys get a refresher on it.
We're living during an incredible day and age. The grand challenges of our time will be solved.
There's so many good people trying to do so much good.
We also have an entirely new breed of philanthropists.
It's tribes, not money, not factories, that can change our world.
I believe emotion is the force of life.
If I could watch this stuff on my computer, on my television, that's where I'd be.
There's going to be a lot of change in ways that really change our lives.
There's an enormous power behind the arising of the new consciousness.
Stories and solutions that offer hope are the best way to connect and empower people.
What we need is not evolution, but a revolution in education.
Why not play a game that you win if you're present?
Crises are often the catalyst for change.
It is up to us to decide how will we be, who will we be.
We can build a future that we all dream of.
Lovely little introduction to Awaken.com, isn't it great? Can't you see so much Christianity and Jesus and holiness and righteousness involved with that? Yeah, it's great. And so right off the bat, something that I wanted to do, I didn't start it last week, I wanted to, or I didn't even think about it until now, but what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be keeping track. Red flag words, and I'm going to be making a list as we continue on. This list will continue to grow as we go through. I don't want to just throw all of them up at the same time. But as we continue to move, we will have red flag words. When you see these words, not only as we go through this series, but out in regular life, whether you're involved in a church, an after-school program, a school program, or anything in between, when you see these words being thrown around, you should be on alert. That is a red flag word. And awaken starts it off. Unity, vibes, vibration, anything like that. Spirituality, it's just another term for New Age. Thrive is a big one. You will see thrive a lot today, as well as going throughout the series, mainly when we get into education stuff. And pluralist is another one. Pluralist simply means coexist. That's what that means. So awaken, right off the bat, we got awakening, whether it's awakening, great awakening, doesn't matter, left or right. I don't care. When somebody says that word, red flag. So let's go ahead and get into the Awaken. And we're going to go ahead and start right here on their main page of the website. Welcome to Awaken. Awaken the world through enlightened media. Says, we're happy you found us and are thrilled to walk this journey of self-discovery. Right off the bat, we see self. New Age is all about self. They like to say that it's not. It's about a oneness. It's about self getting to oneness. It's kind of interesting how they like to weave their way through that. It doesn't make sense, but we just got to roll with it. Self-discovery. And as we know, as Christians, Christ followers, we are to lose us and have more of Christ. We are to be more like Christ and less of us. And they're teaching the exact opposite. So right there, we know nothing is good. Awaken is an exciting new web portal whose mission, don't worry, it might be too small to read. I'll be reading through this stuff for you guys. Awaken is an exciting new web portal whose mission is to awaken the world through enlightened media by engaging its audience with positive, uplifting, and useful information related to living an informed, inspired, and healthy life. Yeah. Awaken's emphasis is sharing the wisdom of the ages. Yep, that means East meets West type of stuff all throughout time through teachers, philosophers, motivational speakers, authors, and spiritual leaders. We're going to be covering all this stuff through this series, guys. To the end, Awaken is a blend of East meets West. There it is. Science and spirituality, New Age, and the inner search. That means it's within us for meaning and its practical application for daily life. So right there, whenever it says inner search, sorry for hitting the microphone. Whenever it says inner search, that's about, they think it's within us. That is your Christ consciousness that Mark Hubbard was talking about. That means it's in us. We have divinity in us that we have to awaken. We have to reach enlightenment to get it out. So whenever they're talking about self-discovery, inner search, inner voice, that's what it's talking about. And so if we keep looking, we get a lot more on this website, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse as we go through this. What does an awakened life look like? Here at Awaken, we delight in sharing what we feel to be the most pioneering information available on all topics related to planetary and personal well-being and spiritual growth. Again, oneness, planet, inner self, spiritual growth. You're going to, again, there's your New Age mumbo jumbo right there, which it's not mumbo jumbo. You know what I mean. Our featured teachers are living treasures through guidance, will help to transform challenges into opportunities and hurdles into possibilities. Our mission is to inspire your every step so that you walk along the path of awakening. Feels a little bit lighter. How does awareness engender the process of awakening? Awareness engenders a shift from being one to whom things happen to being one who consciously participates in and even chooses one's experiences. Everything about this is experienced based. It's about emotion. It's about feelings. It's about experiencing things, whether it's through yoga, through music, through anything like that. It's about experiences. Kind of sounds like the NAR church, doesn't it? Experience-based. NAR is just a soft version of New Age. Don't worry, we'll be getting into that later. Through the mere act of consciously witnessing our experiences, rather than being blind participant, we awaken our power as a creative source. We will awaken the Christ consciousness. We will use that divinity, that power, to co-create with God. That's exactly what Hubbard was talking about. They just put it in a nice little package that doesn't sound as weird. This means that we share in the creation of our own happiness, inner peace, and well-being, whatever that means to each one of us, without depending on other people or situations to bring us fulfillment. This realization liberates us from our dependency on external conditions and brings incredible strength of spirit. And so it is that awakening begins with this quiet quality of observation, sometimes called contemplation, sometimes called mindfulness, or they would say meditation. Whatever we call it, it is a sacred ability to step into the guise of the watcher. This is awakening. Gets worse, guys. Let's go into number 2. What does an awakened life, nope, that ain't it. Let's go to number 3. My bad. Like I said, I had to change some of this stuff. Number 3, the outermost layer, nature. When we bring this reflective quality to the outermost layer of who we are, we encounter the aspect of reality that lies outside the walls of our physical body. The trees, the ocean, the soil, all the creatures that till the soil, and the air itself, all of which extends outwards with no limit. What we discover in our contemplations is that all of which lies outside the walls of our physical vessel, our body, is just as vital to our well-being as what lies within the walls of our physical body. Again, they try and make it sound more spiritual when they do this stuff rather than just saying our bodies, such as our own heart and lungs. For our very breath is supplied by their existence. I would argue that our very breath is supplied by God, but what do I know? Thus, we come to see at the deepest level of our being that we really are one. There's your oneness. There's your oneness with the planet, with the soil, with the creatures, with the air, the ocean, everything that they just listed. There's your oneness. That is your new age. We are one with the world. We are endless and infinite. There's another red flag word. We will add that to the list for next week. Infinite. They like to use that. Now, the word infinite itself is not bad, but it's how they use it, specifically talking about us and the planet and our consciousness and knowledge and everything. They like to use it, and it all has to do with balance. This is where we get into the balance of things. A lot of Hindu, a lot of Eastern mysticism uses the balance things. We've talked about it before, but we'll get to it later again. You know, the infinity symbol, 4-leaf clover, Templar cross, the yin-yang sign, everything is about balance. This way of seeing is that Thich Nhat Hanh calls deeply looking and inspires us to take care of ourselves, which is to take care of everything that sustains us, to appreciate this as awakening. Beginning the journey inward, community. Our deepening awareness then begins to reveal our relationships with our own community of people, from family to the workplace, as well as our kinship with other creatures that share the earth with us. Coming into this deeper state of realization, we are able to see that all of us play unique roles and are here for our own reasons. That is the meaning of I am what I am, and they are what they are. I am what I am. Kind of sounds like I know this may not pertain to some people because you haven't seen the video, but some of you were here when we were discussing that Charity Gale song where they just kept repeating the I am part. Kind of sounds similar, doesn't it? Yeah, it's in the church, guys. It lends itself to an easier coexistence among us and all greater willingness to look upon the others people's choices without judgment and to respect the distinct purpose of all beings, to cultivate the sense of compassion is awakening. We got 2 more of these, but it gets worse from here. It gets worse from here. Deepening layers of awareness, our health. Continuing our journey inward, we encounter the vehicle we walk in. Again, body. Our own bodies. Recalling our metaphor of the flower for a moment, it is like venturing into a deeper layers of the petals that are still yet to bloom. In this portion of our journey, we come face to face with the choices we make every day with regard to our own wellness and healing. We begin to see that every choice is, in effect, a gesture of taking our inner power back. Taking our inner power back. Christ consciousness right there. Going beyond physical causes and instead exploring subtler causes. That which cannot be seen, but is rather felt. Again, feelings, emotion. That is the basic foundation of New Age, is how do I feel about things? How am I vibing with these things? How does it make me feel? Again, we see that a lot in the NAR church as well. These signals are whispers from the soul telling us when something is wrong. It's a kind of healthy skepticism, questioning the eating rules we all grew up with, as well as the traditional Western models for medical treatment, and instead learning that works for our own unique bodies. Tuning into those subtle messages and trusting them is not only conscious living, but it's also personal empowerment. It is awakening. Then we get to deepening the journey of the mind. Going subtler still, we bring this sense of empowerment to the embedded layers of the mind, where we discover our capacity to liberate ourselves from what we once seemed indelibly etched, as close as I got, into our way of being. Liberate ourselves, again, self. Our own habitual thought patterns and the pull of our senses, calming and focusing the mind with meditative practices from Tai Chi and yoga to the various forms of seated meditation. We begin to cultivate a new relationship with the mind's wily activities, in which paradoxically we begin to gain position as controller. Again, it's about awakening that inner power and taking control of it itself, just as we begin to let go of control. To this effect, consider the sports coach who evokes command of the team by just watching. This kind of mastery is awakening. And to finish this all off, the worst of it all, deep right here, coming home to spirit, capital S, spirit. The key to the spiritual journey is not found in things acquired outside of ourselves. Rather, it is discovered through the process of letting go of false authority, unnecessary attachments, and all the myriad fears and doubts which only serve to beguile us into the illusion of control, and which serve only to distract us from the only truth that could ever set us free. That what we seek is already within us. What we seek is already within us. Now, if you're living that type of life, you don't need God, do you? You don't need Jesus, do you? No, because it's already in you. And this is something that we see a lot in the NAR church. I'll use Stephen Furtick as an example. He continues to pound his chest on the stage and tell his congregation that it's already in you. He's teaching New Age. And that may be quite obvious for some of us, but there's other churches out there that do it in a very subtle way. Don't worry, we'll talk about that too. And the entirety of life's journey is but a vehicle for coming home to this sanctuary within. Whether we call it the Atman, as the Hindus do. Here we go with the one world religion. Everybody worships the same God. We're just climbing a different side of the mountains. Here it goes. In the Atman, as the Hindus do, the still small voice within, like the Quakers, or simply becoming conscious. Although unseen, it is the most significant part of who we are. Coming home to the heaven that lies within is a coming into personal power. Power to create, co-creators, to manifest. There's another red flag word right there. We'll add that to the list. We got 2 already. To know, to be, to live our destiny freely and in the company of those who support that journey. In this space of extended awareness, we awaken to find ourselves in sweet harmony with all that is. This is awakening. Here at Awaken, we are committed to bringing you wisdom of the highest quality and encouragement that supports you on your unique path, as well as teachers who are peerless in their own self-mastery. Last but not least, the subtler realms energy. Exploring the subtlest realms of the unseen, we become sensitive enough to experience the energetic fields within and without. We talked about this last week with our heart energy, our mind energy, our emotion energy, all becoming one with the earth energy. That's how we coexist with each other and the earth. That's what's going on. That's where vibe comes from, the vibrations that come from us and the earth. That's your New Age. Experience the energetic fields within and without. Calling to mind our metaphor, here we encounter the deepest parts of the flower. Also pretty, the flower. This is the part of our journey in which we become finely attuned to fluctuations in our vitality. For example, when we are giving away our energy to that which pulls us down. or isn't in line with our purpose. We become courageous enough and so full of self-respect and love that we begin to acknowledge our own company and environment is impacting us. Company and environment. We are one energetically. Does it leave us feeling drained or inspired and energized? When we become more aware of those feelings, we feel how it manifests in our physical and mental bodies, in our posture, in our facial tension, in our gut, in our way our heart is beating, and the way we're breathing, and our ability to be present and at ease, coming into energetic wholeness. There's another red flag. So we already got 3 red flags that we'll be adding to the list. Coming into energetic wholeness and integrity is awakening. All right. I know that was a lot. I appreciate you guys hanging with me, but I wanted you to get the whole idea of what they're coming at you with on this. So that in a nutshell explains what the awakening journey process is about. It's all about inner self. It's all about the divine energy within us. It's about being one with each other, with the planet. But it requires us to be able to awaken and enlighten ourselves to the Christ consciousness, the next conscious evolution, in order to reach the heaven within us, the sanctuary within us. That's what they're pushing. That is straight up New Age. The God is in us. The goddess is in us. And we must awaken it to become one and ultimately to save the planet. Now, if you take a look at some of their teaching topics, I'm not going to show it to you, but if you go on their website, they got it all up there. They will cover anything from culture to renewable energy, to the environment, to technology, to Mother Earth, to health and wellness, to psychology, to yoga, to mindfulness and meditation, to dreams, to consciousness, to enlightenment, to mysticism, to miracles. And they got other stuff on there too. Those are just a few that I wanted to show you. So I took a few snapshots of some of those topics that they were talking about because I want you guys to get an idea of the wide array that they cover. So one of the first things I want to take a look at is this. Awaken Interviews, Chip Cummins, Part 2, The Sacred Feminine. This is going to be one of the things that we will cover later on in the series. We're not going to cover it today, but I want to let you guys know when we start talking about mystery religion, when we start talking about the divine feminine, this is what it is and where it comes from. And again, we'll get to it later. It comes from Gnosticism. Sophia, the divine feminine who created the demiurge, or as we would know him, God. This is where it all comes from. This is about awakening the inner divine feminine. And now this is an interview that a woman by the name of Donna Quesada, I always call her Donna Quesadilla, but her name is Donna Quesada. She is a very famous Kundalini meditation and yoga teacher. And she's interviewing this guy, Chip Cummins, about the environment and all this stuff. I've got just a short clip of this interview to give you guys an idea of, you'll recognize several things in this. Just take a look.
We have spoken a lot on Awaken with my colleague who you met, David. We've talked a lot about the masculine running amok, and that's what you just touched on, that a lot of these problems is just that excess of masculine energy, that mistaken idea that we can somehow pillage and plunder and it's ours to do what we want. And it sounds like you would agree with that.
I would agree with that, with the one caveat that what is it about enabling and codependence that 3.75 billion females on the planet don't understand? So in other words, nobody gets out of this. Okay? And it's not about, women blaming men for creating a problem, but that we are codependently in lockstep creating it. Now, I'm not saying that men couldn't use a couple of lessons in being a little less dominant and allowing their own feminine, but I think we all have to, get ownership here.
It's an energetic kind of, we're stuck in this momentum.
a general energetic dynamic that feeds upon itself.
Yes.
And so in order to come out, like Einstein said, you cannot solve a problem from within the same
space
frame
or level, right?
And so we're going to have to understand that and rise above the entire situation in order for our evolution to continue, or we're going to have to extinguish all life and start over again and let the earth cool off for a few million years. And that's another option, and quite frankly, that's part of the natural process that happens anyway. I mean, whether we do it now or later,
right?
I can always remember one of my spiritual teachers long ago wrote, well, God's kind of in a position where it's, he says, well, or she says, she says, well, you can pay me now or you can pay me later. Okay.
Yes, the earth will regenerate with or without us.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sorry. I want to ask you, can you speak about the meat industry? It seems like that part of the cause of global warming is pushed under the carpet. And I was grateful for the movie that Leo DiCaprio backed, Cowspiracy, for bringing that out into the open. Could you speak about that?
Sure. Well, I was also a producer on a movie called Racing Extinction, and which was directed by Louis C. Hoyos, who won the Oscar for The Cove. And this movie was quite significant and went around the world on Discovery in 2015.
All right, so that was just a small snippet of that conversation. Covered several things. Divine feminine, about even the men need to awaken the divine feminine within them. He talked about God being he, she. And then they talked about the planet with the meat and renewable energy, all of that in just a short little clip that I played for you guys. All of that has to do with the same thing. They don't talk about that stuff specifically just because that's what they want to talk about at that moment. No, that all has to do specifically with this New Age belief, this New Age religion. The climate religion is the same thing. It's part of the New Age, which is ultimately a part of Theosophy, which is ultimately a part of going back and back all the way down to Gnosticism, which began in the Garden of Eden. And ultimately what it's going to do is it's just going to retake shape. It's going to reform everything that came out of it is all going to get sucked back up into it. And it's going to become the one world religion. And so all of this stuff, everything that we see with the sustainability, with the climate, with all of these things, the mystery religion as well, everything that's going on, all has to do with becoming that one world religion, all has to do with New Age. And so all of the different policies, all the different technology that we see has this spirit of New Age leading it. And that's why it's here. That's why it's becoming what it is, because this is what's pushing it forward. Again, if you just have that mindset, this is just a bunch of politicians and government people with a whole bunch of money that just want to stick the thumb on us, there's really nothing that ties it all together. It's just a whole bunch of loose things, a whole bunch of guys that just happen to be working together now, but can ultimately fall out. But when you have that spirit of New Age that's going to become the one world religion, it's a demonic, satanic, being led by Satan that ties all of the stuff together that we see, then there's meat to it. There's purpose to it. Then there's a drive to get it done, which is what we're going to see in Daniel's 70th week. And so that is important to see. So we talked about that. Let's talk a little bit about the technological side of it. Somebody who's big on New Age that some people may not realize. They like to talk about his stuff and his interviews and stuff, but don't really know what he believes and why he's doing the things that he's doing. Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil on how we will become godlike. Again, this is on the Awaken website. And I'm going to read through this because there's a lot of good stuff on here. So if we take a look at this, in the interview, Kurzweil reviews the law of accelerating returns and the implications of exponential information technologies. Included in the field of information technologies now, he talks of the impact of accelerating change on medicine. We'll see dramatic changes in health and medicine 10 years from now. We'll see radical changes 20 years from now, says Kurzweil. We need to get to that point. Now, if we keep going with this, I got to make sure I catch up with you guys. Here it goes. He says, expanding on the last words of the film Transcendent Man, this is Kurzweil's quote. He says, so does God exist? I would say not yet. Kurzweil states the different religions of again, this is Kurzweil here. The different religions of the world have a surprising agreement on what God is. God is an unlimited amount of what? Memory, intelligence, creativity, and love. Basically, the highest things a neocortex does. So I'll explain that in a second. What happens in evolution, entities like mammals and humans become more intelligent, more creative, more loving, and moving exponentially to become more godlike. There's your Christ consciousness again. Never quite reaching God, but moving in that direction. So evolution is a spiritual process to bring us closer to God, and technological evolution is now running 1,000,000 times faster than biological evolution. And ultimately, we will vastly, that's got to be a typo there. We'll vastly, trillions fold expand our creativity and our sense of humor and our ability to love, and will become more godlike. So he says, for Kurzweil, we will never really become infinite, but it will seem infinite from today's perspective. Now, wrapping this up, kind of expands upon what he's talking about. It says, Kurzweil also discusses how the cloud is increasingly going to take over our thinking. The cloud, how we have data storage in the cloud, save something to the cloud, like on your computer or phone. That's what he's talking about. You'll also notice this is something that Noah Yuval Harari has talked about, where he says it'll be like the God of the clouds, not that God, but the cloud itself that we have created. So again, Kurzweil, Awaken, Noah Yuval Harari are all talking about the same idea. Kurzweil also discusses how the cloud is increasingly going to take over our thinking. Starting in the 2030s, our neocortex will extend to the cloud, he says. We will extend into the cloud by sending nanobots into the brain, which will basically just be communicators to the cloud. Then we can have a neocortex extension to the cloud. Kurzweil says the cloud is pure information technology. It's doubling in power every year. The impact of this extending out is more and more of our thinking will be done in the cloud. And Kurzweil predicts that it will eventually be mostly in the cloud, diminishing the need for our biological bodies. This is about conscious evolution, becoming co-creators. This is exactly what Hubbard was talking about, Marx Hubbard. This is basically the same thing that Alice Bailey was talking about when she said that vision that she had was a global religion and a one world's government. Exactly what we see in Scripture. It's exactly what we see in Scripture. Now, if we take another look, just another little snippet, I only took 3 snippets, but they also got a section on yoga, which you can see right here. If you can get a good idea, is yoga enough to keep you fit? But like right here, there's Donna Quesadilla again, tools of the Kundalini yoga, breaking free from victim consciousness. You got stuff from Emma Watson and everything like that. Just various things on yoga, and it just keeps going. They just have more and more information on that as well. So that's all stuff that we will get to as well. I'm sure everybody knows about yoga, but we'll get into that later on when the time comes. So I wanted to show you how wrapped up into everything this stuff is. We're talking about the planet, renewable energy, sustainability. We just showed that with that Cummins thing. The divine feminine, mystery religion, that's there as well. We just talked about technology, transhumanism, that's there as well. And different things like yoga. And there's a lot more on that site as well, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what they show. Things, again, we know like yoga, but it's also wrapped up again in the transhumanism and renewable energy, governmental policies. As we move through this series, I want everyone to have a firm understanding of this is the coming one world religion. Everything that we see being developed and being put on the table all has to do with getting this one world religion together, because again, you look at the 3 pillars of the Antichrist beast system: one world government, one world economy, one world religion. The thing that ties them all together, that makes them work, is the one world religion. That is the most important pillar of it all, because you can have all of this technology, you can have all the government policies, you can have all the surveillance and the biometric stuff and all the WHO stuff and the WEF stuff, and you can have all that stuff. But ultimately, Satan has one goal: to not have people worship God and to worship him. That's all he cares about. He's just using all of this stuff to get to that point. So while the Christians and the prophecy watchers are over here just fumbling around with all the stuff that he's creating to make it happen, we're not paying attention to the whole point of what he's doing. The whole reason why he's doing it. This isn't, again, a fight of flesh and blood. This is a spiritual battle. Yes, we watch and see what is going on with all this stuff over here. But if we don't know why he's doing it, and through what way he's doing it, we're lost. We have no idea what we're fighting. We have to know what we're fighting in order for us to actually fight the battle. And our battle, again, I start out with it every single podcast. Warn people of what's coming and get people to Jesus and Jesus to people. That is our battle. So again, we can have all the knowledge on this stuff over here, but that's not the fight that we're fighting. No, we're fighting the spiritual battle that's going on. And that involves the New Age. If you don't know the New Age, how are you supposed to fight it? If you've got people locked in the NAR church, how are you supposed to get them out if you don't know what's all involved with it? If you have people locked in yoga and meditation, if you don't know about that stuff, how are you supposed to get them out of it? Because they're going to have questions. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's not our job to get them out. We're just supposed to plant the seed. Yeah, but if they come at you with questions, you got to be able to answer those questions. You can't just say, what you're doing is wrong, you need Jesus. And they go, why? I don't know, you just do. That's not going to help anything. You got to know this stuff in order to be able to answer these questions, in order to help bring them out of why they're in it. It's part of the battle. It's part of our responsibility. I mean, again, you can go up to somebody in the NAR church and you say, hey, what you're doing is not good. You need to get out of that. Why? Well, because there's some CBDC thing going on over here. Again, that's not going to work. Again, we got to know what's going on with that. But again, the whole foundation of it is really where we need to keep our eyes. And that's why I think this is important. That's why I also recommend Billy Crone, because he's tying all this stuff together too. One of the few that's doing it. That's why I recommend Spencer Smith, because he's also tying all this stuff together. But I don't know who else really is. I don't. It's very important. So we need to have a firm understanding of the coming one world religion as well as the mystery religion on these things. Now let's take a look at a few of the teachers who make up Awakening. I told you I was going to be showing names and all this stuff, and I'm going to do that. So as we go through this list, I'm just going to be pointing out a few names and faces. I'm sure you'll recognize people on your own. We're not going to get to everybody all at the same time. I'm just going to point out a couple today, but we'll get to a lot of these people. And again, I'm sure you'll recognize some of these people. So we're going to start with their list because they've got 3 separate things. They've got living teachers, they got past teachers, and then they've got what they call awakened people or just contributors to it. Now, these are the people that this is where they get their teachings from that they then put out for everybody else. So let's take a look at the past teachers, the ones that have, I guess they would say, gone on to enlightenment. I don't know how they do it, but right off the bat, we can see one of their past teachers. There she is, Barbara Marx Hubbard, right there. But you can see some other people. Alan Watts is on there. Alfred Adler is on there as well. There's Buckminster Fuller. Again, we'll talk about him later. You get some of these people. We keep going. You can see some more of these people. There's some old Confucius say, that type of thing. Eat many prunes, sit on the toilet many moons, type of thing. I don't know if he ever said that, but I like to think that he did. But yeah, you can get an idea. Again, a lot of these people you may not recognize. Some of them you may. Just to give you an idea of what is going on with this. Just keep it going. There's a lot of these past teachers on there. Of course, Gandhi is on there as well. All these people. Earl Nightingale as well. That's an interesting fellow. I'll tell you something about that. There she is. Helena Blavatsky is on their list of teachers. They take from the Theosophy as well. Of course, New Age comes from Theosophy, so of course they do. She's on there. Bunch of other ones. Keep it going. You got Mother Teresa. She'll pop up later. We'll see her later. We got her. Got some of these other guys. That Pierre de Chalin. We're going to be talking about him. That is a bad dude. Oh, really bad dude. We'll talk about him later. We'll get to him eventually. Don't you worry. There's some more of the other guys down there at the bottom. Some of those guys. Gonna move on. Last on the list right here. We get to these last people here. Again, I'm sure you recognize some of these people. Some you may not. I want to take a look at William James, though. Just a quick look at William James, because I think it's important to understand exactly what he's a part of. So let's take a look at Mr. William. And I'm trying to find it on my end. Where did I put him? I know you guys see him. Can't see him. Oh, there he is. Okay. William James. Why I want to point this guy out. First of all, his foundation of teaching. He was born 1842 to 1910, was an American philosopher and psychologist who had trained as a physician. He was the first educator to offer a psychology course in the United States. And he was instrumental in establishing, here we go, Harvard's psychology department, which at its inception was tied to the Department of Philosophy. Now, I wanted to point this out because as we go throughout this series, you're going to find a lot, and I mean a lot, of New Age teachers as well as environmentalists and sustainability teachers come from Harvard's psychology department or philosophy department. And this is the guy who basically created it. He established that. And he taught the theory of emotion, mind and body connection, and psychology. He was all into this inner self, into the theory of mind, the theory of emotion. We'll see a lot, again, driving of emotion. It's all about self. So this dude was a big proponent of it. So I just wanted to give you a quick idea of why I think he's important, because he was the one that set up the Harvard thing that a lot of these people come from. So that's why I wanted to point him out. So we got an idea of that. But now we're going to take a look at some of the contributors on the website as well. I want to point out a few of these people on the way. So if we take a look, again, they call them Awaken people. You can see Al Gore on there. No surprise there, no shock. But I want to point out one, David Welch. Now, you might not know David Welch, but I'm going to introduce you to David Welch. So if we take a look at David Welch, his profile here, David Welch is the founder and CEO of Awaken Global Media. So this is his organization, and chief editor at awaken.com. He is a producer of the award-winning movie Peaceful Warrior and a member of the Screen Actors Guild and Directors Guild of America. So this dude is taking all this teaching and sending it in to Hollywood. There it is. He's taking all this New Age teaching, sending it in to Hollywood. David has an extensive background in front of and being behind the camera in production of film, TV, and commercials as an actor, stuntman, award-winning assistant director, casting director, and award-winning producer. David is a master practitioner of neuro-linguistic programming, a certified Kundalini yoga instructor, and has a continuous, committed, and daily yoga, meditation, and Qigong practice. We'll get to some of that stuff later on. But this dude is heavily involved with a lot of this stuff. So good to know that he has taken this into the Hollywood in a very deep manner. There's others who also did the same. We'll talk about them later when we get to it. Also taking a look at some of the Awakened people. Jane Goodall. We'll see her later. Actually, we'll see her later this episode as well. The Jim Carrey, of course. There's Jim Carrey right there. And this guy, Mark Hyman. This is another interesting fellow right here. Let's take a look at Mark Hyman. Again, it's small. You might not see it. Don't worry. I'll point out what I want to talk about. Mark Hyman. Let's see here. I just want to go ahead and skip down to this right here. Dr. Hyman works with individuals and organizations as well as policymakers and influencers. He has testified before the White House Commission on Complementary and Alternative Medicine and the Senate Working Group on Healthcare Reform on Functional Medicine. He has consulted with the Surgeon General on Diabetes Prevention and participated in the 2009 White House Forum on Prevention and Wellness. Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa nominated Dr. Hyman for the President's Advisory Group on Prevention, Health Promotion, and Integrative and Public Health. In addition, Dr. Hyman has worked with President Clinton, presenting at the Clinton Foundation's Health Matters, Achieving Wellness in Every Generation Conference, and the Clinton Global Initiative, as well as the World Economic Forum on Global Health Issues. Yep. Let's keep going. Dr. Hyman also works with fellow leaders in his field to help people and communities thrive. Red flag word. Thrive. With Rick Warren, Dr. Oz, and Dr. Daniel Amen. He created the Daniel Plan, a faith-based initiative that helped the Saddleback Church collectively lose 250,000 pounds. He has appeared as an advisor on the Dr. Oz Show and is on the board of Dr. Oz's Health Corps, which tackles the obesity epidemic by educating American students with nutrition. Everywhere. It's everywhere. White House, WEF, church. Everywhere. And finishing off the last bit of that list of awakened people, you can see Ray Kurzweil as well. Yep. So now we looked at the past, we looked at the contributors. What about the living teachers at awaken.com? There's a couple people I want to talk about on this list. So let's just go ahead and get on with the show, shall we? We're going to start at the very beginning. Again, you might recognize some of these people, you might not. I plan on talking about that Alan Finger dude later. We're not going to talk about him today, but that is a curious fellow. He's also involved with Hollywood and other things. We'll talk about that. But who I want to focus on is Tony Robbins. I'm sure everybody has seen one of those infomercials for Tony Robbins before. I mean, even I remember seeing those things of Tony Robbins. He's one of the Awaken teachers. Let's talk about Tony Robbins. Now, this dude is big on the motivational speaking. And a lot of this has to do with the positive thinking stuff, the vibe movements. I'm sure you've heard of books like, what is it? Wow, it just slipped my mind. I had it right there. The Power of Positive Thinking right there. That's written by a dude by the name of Norman Vincent Peale. We will be talking about him later, don't you worry. But positive thinking, a lot has to do with New Age and even Luciferian cult. It does. It's amazing. This dude is a part of it. And he's all wrapped up in different things that he does. So, I mean, we look at some of this stuff, we can see him. First thing I wanted to do was take a look at his website. Right there, front page. Step into a transformative 4-day experience to fast track growth. Unleash the power within. There it is. The power within. Christ consciousness. It's in you. It's already in you. Everything that you need is already in you. Now, I went to a success stories page. Found an interesting name. Shaboom. Marc Benioff. Now, you might not know this guy, but he's involved with a lot of things that you might not know. First off, Marc Benioff, he is the CEO of Salesforce, but he is also on the board of trustees for the WEF. So we've got 2 WEF connections already. I mean, we're in episode 2 and we've already got 2. Now, we can see here from his little biography that they have on the WEF. It says Marc Benioff is chair, chief executive officer, and co-founder of Salesforce and a pioneer of cloud computing. Now, we've talked about Salesforce in the past. I mean, I can't recall all the times I've mentioned him, but when it comes to different things on the alphabet stuff or policy stuff, anything coming out of the WHO and the WEF, usually Salesforce is mentioned. They're involved with the BlackRock stuff as well. Salesforce is a huge part of that. You can clearly see that Benioff is a huge part of the WEF as well on this. Under Benioff's leadership, Salesforce is the #1 provider of customer relationship. Nobody cares. Benioff was named Innovator of the Decade by Forbes and is recognized as one of the world's 25 greatest leaders by Fortune. And he's hooked up with none other than Tony Robbins, Awaken. He's also one of the 10 best performing CEOs by Harvard. Again, there's Harvard CNN Business CEO 2020. Benioff has been empowered by the GLAD. There's your alphabet stuff. We've talked about that before. Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative, Variety Magazine, Empowerment Award, a member of the World Economic Forum Board of Trustees. Benioff co-founded 1T.org, the global movement to conserve, restore, and grow 1 million trees. And the WEF Friends of Ocean Action. So we're starting to see some of that environment stuff comes through. He also serves as the inaugural chair of the WEF's Forum Center for the 4th Industrial Revolution in San Francisco. Isn't it wonderful? So if we take a look at the Salesforce website, we can get a couple things. Just want to show you this. CEOs must mandate for all stakeholders, not just shareholders. That's Marc Benioff joining the Davos panel on stakeholder capitalism. You can also see it right here. Salesforce, Marc Benioff, and WEF leader Klaus Schwab discuss saving the planet and the trust crisis. Trust crisis. That's funny. In Davos. Now, I want to read you a little bit of this article because I think it's important. It says, over the next decade will be the fifth industrial revolution. So they're already moving on to the 5th. And that will be about saving the planet. Salesforce chairman and CEO Marc Benioff said Thursday with World Economic Forum founder and executive chairman Klaus Schwab in Davos. We really have a lot of work to do, Benioff said. We can see the rising temperatures. We can see how that affects the oceans and creates acidification. I think that's it. Changes to our ecosystem. We have to ask ourselves, is this a world we are going to leave our children, 1 or 2 decades from now, Benioff asked, especially when we can see the targets that have been set out in the Paris Accords. And it just keeps going on, talking about the 4th Industrial Revolution, the technologies that will help save the planet and all that. He also says, he said that the younger generation will play a role in doing so, not just the global shapers, not just the young global leaders, but really the generation that is still coming in. They're coming out of school. They have the ideas of biodiversity and leadership, and it's very powerful. Now, why am I talking about that specifically? Because One of the main points of that term, the new normal, which was getting thrown around as just a catchphrase during 2020. Well, there's actually a thing behind it that involves the fourth industrial revolution. One of the main things behind it is re-education. It's reforming education for getting people comfortable with AI, not only servicing AI, but also being comfortable with it and utilizing it, but also SEL teaching, social emotional learning, which is built, rooted, the foundation of it is New Age. Now, I talked a little bit about that when we did the episode Indoctrination Centers, about the Fetzer Institute and the Rockefeller spirituality in education stuff. We talked about that. I plan on going a lot deeper into that later on. We're not going to do it today. Probably won't do it next week either, but we're going to talk about that because that is a major proponent of this, getting this new education into kids so as they grow up, they are indoctrinated with this stuff. So, okay, we need to keep going. A little thing I got here on Tony Robbins as well. He says his example of teaching says, I think awaken means to get outside of your history, outside of your conditioning, outside of your culture, and become present in the moment and see what's real right now without the filters. It's the ability to witness to the mind and be master of the mind instead of having the mind master you. This mind is not going to cooperate and say, well, let's just do this together. I found in my life that your heart, your soul, and your spirit have got to direct that mind. Anytime we make decisions based on our hearts, well, that's connected to our stomach. It's usually not a good idea, but that, again, the exact opposite of what we should be doing. So it says your spirits have got to direct that mind to take charge of it and use it, or it will use you. And so I think awakening is learning how to step outside of mind's control and step more into heart's control. Not good. And to really experience, there's the experience again, you got to experience it, the joy of whatever is happening in your moment. Okay, so I want to get back to his profile because there's a couple things I want to point out on Tony Robbins here, because we're gonna branch off Tony into another section. So he is talking, where is it at? Right here. Robbins is also the founder of Mastery University, not Masters University, but Mastery University, which brings together the world's leading experts from their respective fields. In the past, Robbins co-facilitators have included General Norman Schwarzkopf. You might know him more as Stormin' Norman. That was his thing. And Secretary of State Colin Powell on leadership. Also, Dr. Deepak Chopra. We're going to talk about him. Don't worry. That dude is... I don't like to use the word evil very often, but that dude is evil. On psychoneurology. That's the best I got. Peter Lynch as well. Peter Lynch is a famous investor, and he was also the manager of Magellan Fund at Fidelity. He racked up massive amounts of profits. He was also involved with that, as well as, and this is the guy that I want to focus on, Sir John Templeton. And then he also mentions Al Gore as well. But I want to focus on Sir John Templeton because this dude is interesting. Again, you may not have heard this guy, but he's involved with a lot of things. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to, where is he? John Templeton. Sir John Templeton, 1912 to 2008. This dude is very, very much involved with the coexist, the pluralistic type of spirituality. His financial feats were matched by early signs of John Templeton's larger vision in life, a profound respect for warning, a belief in the centrality of spiritual life, and a higher purpose beyond profit for profit's sake. So this dude was heavily involved with spirituality things, mainly coexist, bringing religions together. Doesn't that sound a lot like a one world religion type of deal? I think it does to me. John is noted. Go ahead and bring me back. There's a lot of slides. Hold on. There we go. Okay, bring me back. John is noted as saying, and this is his quote, I grew up as Presbyterian. Presbyterians thought the Methodists were wrong. Catholics thought that all Protestants were wrong. The Jews thought the Christians were wrong. So what I'm financing is humility. I want people to realize that you shouldn't think that you know it all. Again, he's pushing combining religions. He's pushing tolerance, coexistence, all of this. Now, again, he makes a good point where we shouldn't think that we know it all, because we don't. But the difference is we have the Word of God that does know it all. And that's what makes us stand out from the rest. Because the Word of God does know it all. It's always right. It's never been wrong. It not only knows the past, it knows the present, and it knows the future. Why? Because it's the living Word of God. The Word was God. The Word was with God. It is this all-knowing book. And so while we don't know it all, anybody who says they know it all, they don't. They're liars. We don't know it all, but the Bible does. So, again, no. just no. Did I also mention that Sir John Templeton, he served on the board of the American Bible Society as well? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, let's go ahead and go through this timeline of John, because there's some interesting things in this. So we're going to start right here with this. 1972, Templeton Prize. You'll notice, I don't know if you can see it, but if you look at the top left above his picture, Templeton Prize, there's an infinity sign right there. Balance. There it is. You're going to see that a lot. I'm just letting you guys know right now, you're going to see it a lot. John Templeton establishes the Templeton Prize for Progress in Religion, now known simply as the Templeton Prize. It is an annual cash gift exceeding the value of the Nobel Prize. The Templeton Prize honors individuals whose exemplary achievements harness the power of the sciences to explore the deepest questions of the universe and humankind's place and purpose with it. That was in 1972. And this thing has even bigger cash than the Nobel Prize. It all has to do with science and religion and the universe and all that stuff. So who are some of the winners of the Templeton Prize? Told you guys, I am not holding back on names and faces. If I see it, I'm putting it out there. Jane Goodall. I told you we'd see her again. Then there's the Dalai Lama. He's also a teacher on Awaken. Both of them are. Charles W. Colson. Billy Graham. Mother Teresa. Those are just a few. There's one every year since 1972. Those are just a few that I thought I would point out. Now, something of note, and I'm not going to go into it this episode, but I'll probably go into it later. Billy Graham and Charles Colson there, along with Norman Vincent Peale, they led a group of evangelists that tried to block JFK from becoming president, and they supported Nixon. And a lot of it has to do with that, but they are winners of the Templeton Prize, which doesn't surprise me, and I'll go into it later. I know I will. Billy Graham was big on universalism, so it doesn't shock me on that. Now, if we keep going with the timeline, see 1987, if I can get there. There it is. This is how he became Sir. Sir John Templeton establishes the John Templeton Foundation. So we're going to talk about that. Sir John Templeton contributed a sizable portion of his assets to the foundation. He expected the foundation to stand apart from any consideration of dogma or personal religious belief, and to seek out grantees who are innovative, creative, enthusiastic, and open to competition and new ideas in their approach to the big questions. That same year, he was made Knight Bachelor by Queen Elizabeth II for his many, this is a word I can't say, philanthropic accomplishments. I think that's the best I got. You guys know what I'm saying. We keep going up to 1997. Templeton Press was established. The press was established to publish books that promote a deeper understanding of the influence of spirituality, beliefs, and values on human health, happiness, and prosperity. Wow, that's a lot there. Spirituality, your new age stuff, happiness, there's your motivational stuff, prosperity, prosperity gospel. Templeton Press actually just closed down this April when I went hunting for them. They closed down this April. They actually joined into Rutgers book publishing. So if you want to find those books, you have to go to Rutgers to find them. If we keep going to 1998, this is where we start getting a little not good. The first Humble Approach Initiative, Synopsium is held, called Love and the Ultimate Nature of Reality, Cosmology, Freedom, and the Theology of Kenosis. And this was held in Cambridge, England. Kenosis, if you guys don't know, just a very basic thing of it. We're not going to spend much time here. Kenosis theory is the belief that Jesus emptied himself of his God self, his deity, his divine ability when he came to earth. And as we know as Christians, that is completely 100% false, because if that was true, his sacrifice would not do anything for our salvation. He had to be 100% man, 100% God. He had to be the God-man in order for it to work. Kenosis theory is a bold-faced lie. Somebody you might know that believes and teaches this is Bill Johnson of Bethel. He teaches this false teaching as well. He believes in the Kenosis theory. It's in the NAR church, guys. I'm telling you. Finishing off the timeline, 2005. I wanted to throw this in because I think it's important. Where's it at? There it is. 2005, Sir John Templeton donates an additional $500 million to the foundation. The foundation then became one of the 60 largest foundations in the country in terms of assets. So you can see just how rich this foundation actually is. Now, I want to go ahead and head over to the partners of the foundation, because right here you're going to see a lot of very important factors in this belief, this idea of coexistence and New Age reaching out in various aspects. I told you we were going to be connecting dots. So right here, some of their partners with this. Okay. New Pluralists. There it is. That's your coexist group. Pluralist means coexist, just to put it very, very simply. New Pluralist is a funder collaborative focused on supporting the growing field of practitioners, storytellers, researchers, and innovators working to foster a culture of pluralism in America. New Pluralist is working closely with a group of field builders representing diverse talents, beliefs, backgrounds, and areas of work who are helping to shape our shared aspirations and strategy. Now, I went to their website to find out a few things. Right off the bat, I'm just going to show you their logo. New Pluralists, a sponsored project of Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. There's Rockefeller. Something that you're going to see pop up a lot throughout the series is the Rockefeller name. I get asked the question all the time is, how on earth are these big families with all this money who want to have all this control and want to implement all this stuff, are you really sure that they believe in this stuff? Yes. Yes, the Rockefellers, everything that they do with their money and their grants and their financial stuff and their organizations and the government stuff and the policies and everything that they do is all based on New Age. And we're going to explore all this as we continue to go along. They really do believe in this. Now, if we keep going and we just take a look at the general idea of what the pluralistic or the pluralism, new pluralist, just anything plural, however you want to put it. I'm trying to find where I'm at. There's so many slides. I know you guys can see it, but I can't. So just give me 1 second. I got to find this right here. There it is. Okay. America at a crossroads. Why new pluralism? We face extraordinary challenges that need bold solutions. A global pandemic, economic disruption, racial injustice, and environmental threats. Yet we, the people, that's cute, taking that, we are more divided than ever. Many forces exploit our differences, stoke anxiety, and fuel our worst impulses. If we are to realize the vision of a politically vibrant, multiracial, multi-faith democracy, and democracy again is a lie. It doesn't exist. It's something that they throw out there to keep people divided. Multi-faith democracy, we must usher in a new pluralism. We must usher in a coexistence in America. What is New Pluralist? Pluralist is a funder collaborative focused on supporting the growing field of practitioners, storytellers. It's exactly what they said on the Templeton website. How do we work? New Pluralists invest in strengthening the growing field that is addressing our nation's crisis of division, distrust, dehumanization, and disconnection. We are focused on culture change. On shifting the norms, values, skills, and behaviors that shape the way we see each other and ourselves. This work advances a larger vision for change, strengthening a pluralist culture, a coexistent culture, complements the important structural change others are undertaking to enact policies and reform institutions. It's about creating a tolerant, coexistent, inclusive culture that will accept a one world religion. Let's take a look at some of the partners involved with this. Fetzer Institute. Now, again, I know a lot of you may not have seen the Indoctrination Center's episode. I suggest that you do, but if you don't, we're going to go over Fetzer again because they play a huge part in introducing New Age in schools specifically. But Fetzer Institute is a core partner. You can see John Templeton there. Einhorn is another one. The Rockefeller Trust Fund is there. Walmart, Ahmed Network. We've talked about him. He's a transhumanist and a futurist that's heavily involved with that stuff. Hewlett Foundation and others. Major part in this. Okay, let's go ahead and get back to the partners with John right here. All right. Global Flourishing Study. The Global Flourishing Study, GFS, is a longitudinal research study being carried out in collaboration between scholars at Harvard University. There it is again. You're going to see Harvard a lot. And Baylor University with Gallup and the Center for Open Science. The Global Flourishing Study has the potential to powerfully advance our understanding of human flourishing. This project is supported by the John Templeton Foundation, the Templeton Religion Trust, the Templeton World Charity Foundation, the Fetzer Institute. There's Fetzer again. I told you they're involved with a lot of stuff, specifically with education. The Paul Foster Family Foundation, the Wellbeing for Planet Earth Foundation. We got more environment. Wellbeing Trust, and the David and Carol Myers Foundation. Now, I want to take just a small little look at the Templeton Religion Trust. Just to take a tiny little look at this. Where are you at? I just want to show you one thing from there. Initiative, conventional pluralism. So the religion, John Templeton's Religion Trust, again, promotes exactly what he was trying to do, which is the promotion of pluralism. It's the exact same thing that he's doing. So just to give you an idea on that. Now, if we keep going with John's partners here, the John Templeton Foundation partners, got to make sure I get the right name right there. We take a look, you can see the World Economic Forum rearing its ugly head as a partnership. The John Templeton Foundation co-organized a gathering of global experts on science and faith at the Vatican with the World Economic Forum's young global leaders. Again, this is something that's straight out of Scripture. If you raise a child up in the way he should go, he shall not turn from it. Now, that goes both ways. If you raise a child up with this, they're most likely going to keep going with it. The only way you can break it is through Jesus Christ. And so when you raise up the WEF young global leaders in the way of New Age, coexistence, science, and whatever they call faith, and you do it at the Vatican, you see a very, very poisonous and cancerous group that then go out into important positions all across the world, taking that belief system, taking that New Age belief with them. It's almost identical to the Tower of Babel, when God scrambled their language and they scattered across the world. They still took mystery religion with them. How do we know that? They took the same design of the Tower of Babel with them, and you see it all over the world. The pyramids and the temples and everything all have the same shape. They all have the same design. It's the same thing as the Tower of Babel. So it's almost the same thing. You start raising these world leaders up in this stuff, they're going to take it out with them. So it's important to understand that. Then we also see the John Templeton Foundation, the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation, and the Simmons Foundation are partnering to advance fundamental physics by funding small-scale experiments that explore physics, which has typically been explored at a large-scale facilities, e.g., CERN. They're trying to take what CERN does and bring it down to a smaller scale, because that's exactly what we need. Demonic portal openers sitting in everybody's homes. Just something to think about on that. Last but not least, we take a look right here, and we're going to spend just a little bit of time on this one. Grant makers for thriving youth. Red flag word, thriving. I'll bring up the list. Red flag word, thrive. Not good. Okay, John Porter's 3. There we go. John Templeton Foundation is a founding member of the Grant Makers for Thriving Youth, a funders forum promoting equitable systems, structures, and opportunities for a comprehensive approach to learning and development, so all young people, those little innocent minds that can be molded with this junk, can build and strengthen the skills and capacities they need to thrive. Learning, work, citizenship, and life. So I want to take just a quick look at this. Take a look right here. The Grant Makers for Thriving Youth. Launched in 2016, Grant Makers for Thriving Youth is a funders forum promoting equitable systems. So they just took this straight from the website that we just read it from. Members of the GTY, Grant Makers for Thriving Youth, steering committee describe their philanthropic, I can't say that word, investments to support thriving youth in different ways. They like to use the word thrive a lot. You'll see it a lot later. Developing social and emotional skills and capacities. There we go again. That is your SEL. That is your SEL. We'll get to that. Again, go watch the Indoctrination Center's podcast if you want to get an early look into that. But your social emotional skills and capacities, your SEL, it's all about emotion, feeling, experience. The same thing as New Age, remember? Ensuring equitable learning environments and whole child equity. There it is. Whole child. Yep. There's another word, red flag word. Advancing research, policy, and practice aligned to the science of learning and development. Fostering spiritual and character virtue development. Spiritual development. Why on earth would you be getting involved with that? Supporting physical, mental, social, and emotional health. There it is again. And strengthening child and family well-being. Now, if we move on to the next part of this, I got to catch up with you guys. There I am. GTY strives to improve and expand philanthropy. I can't say that word. I'm sorry. Focused on advancing equitable education and youth development ecosystems so all youth can thrive. GTY's work is rooted in the following principles. Academic, social, and emotional learning are inseparable. So it's saying your education, your academic education, as well as your SEL must be combined. Positive learning environments and experiences, and relationships with adults and peers are critical to the successful development of skills and capacities needed to thrive. There it is again. Persistent inequities deeply rooted in systems deny young people of color and those living in poverty access to a high quality, engaging, and relevant learning environments. So here we go with the social justice stuff as well. That's a part of the SEL, feeling emotional type of stuff. The social justice is a part of that. Philanthropic, I can't say it, can better leverage its resources and influence to advance practices, policies, and research that center equity and the science of learning and development to ensure all youth access the environments and relationships they need to thrive to their fullest potential. And finally, the voices and lived experiences of young people and their families and those closest to the work, teachers, youth workers, and others should inform philanthropic practice. Now, finishing this off, I want to show you who the people are that are funding and creating the environment in this. Hope you all are ready for this. Steering committee, for the grant makers for thriving youth. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, that is Mark Zuckerberg's wife. You can see some of these other, David and Lucille Packard Foundation, 11th Hour Project, Fetzer Institute, John Templeton Foundation, Kaiser Permanente. They have a very interesting key word that they use in all their commercials. What's it called? Thrive. Lefkowski Family Foundation. I mean, it just keeps on going. Wallace Foundation, Walton Family Foundation. These are people who are involved with funding and pushing this. Yep. Isn't it great? One of the main leadership people at the grant makers is Frank L. Gittridge, who is also the executive director at the National Public Education Support Fund. So it's another one. They also are a part of the Data Funders Collaborative, who features similar members. So if we take a look, just a quick look at this, don't want to spend too much time here. I just want to show you the Data Funders. It's the same people. It's the same people, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, it's the same group of people who are involved with it. So it's all the same people, all the same funds, all the same groups that are involved with everything that has to do with funding education for kids. And all these groups are connected to this New Age practice. Now, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, if you guys didn't notice in that Awaken video that I played at the very beginning of this, he's in it. They have him in it. He is involved with this Awaken stuff. So this isn't just some random thing that he's putting in there. He's a part of this New Age, this Awaken type of stuff. Now, finishing it off, we're just about done, guys. Just about done. There's one more teacher, living teacher, that I want to show you tonight. And we're going to finish off with this one. If I can get to it. Living Teachers 2. You can see on this list, you got Deepak Chopra. Sorry. Dalai Lama's there as well. There's a couple people that we'll talk about. There's Dana Quesadilla again. But the guy that I want to talk about to finish this off is this guy. Daisaku Ikeda. Now, this is probably somebody you have never heard of ever before. But this dude is somebody to pay attention to because he is the main propellant for Ikeda is the belief in Buddhism. This dude is a major Buddhist, and I'll show you why. And yes, Buddhism falls in line with New Age. It's the exact same thing. It's the belief that it's in you. You have to get it out. Knowledge, divinity is in you. You have to let it out. This is something, again, that I've talked about just a refresher, everything stems off Gnosticism. So all of the religions that we see, except for Christianity and Judaism, are all branched off of Gnosticism. That's why they all have kind of the same moving function to it. They all have the same foundation to it. They just go about it in different type of ways, but everything stems off of it. So Buddhism is definitely a part of this. And so for this guy, Ikeda, his belief in Buddhism is what drives him to do what he does and what he's a part of now. So he is the president of Soka Gakkai International, or SGI. It's connected to the Buddhist Society of Soka Gakkai, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, with the focus of education reform. So here we go again with putting spirituality in education. We're back to this. But there's a much larger connection here than just a Japanese education, because he's based out of Japan. What is it? It is the SGI International. It's right here. About us, the Soka Gakkai, or SGI, is a global community-based Buddhist organization with a membership of over 12 million people around the world that promotes peace, culture, and education centered on respect for the dignity of life. The SGI is a non-governmental organization that has been in consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, since 1983. The SGI Office for UN Affairs operates in New York and Geneva, representing the SGI at the UN. It's in everything. The SGI strives to strengthen connections between individuals, civil societies, and the UN in order to build a peaceful, just, and inclusive world. Our focus areas of work include peace, disarmament, sustainability, and climate change, human rights, education, gender equality, and women's empowerment, and humanitarian relief. There's a lot there, guys. We believe that when united, red flag word, unity, united towards a shared goal, human beings have the power to do extraordinary things. Soka Gakkai organizations and their members around the world also engage in grassroots activities to promote the culture of peace based on the understanding that individual happiness and the realization of a peaceful world are inextricably linked. Each local organization develops activities in support of the UN agenda. In line with its unique cultural contexts. The SGI Charter articulates the global organization's purpose, the ideals motivating its activities, and its guiding principles in the realm of social engagement. And to finish this off, we're going to take a look at this charter, and you're going to see some very curious things between Buddhism, New Age, as well as what's going on with all of the climate agenda that's being pushed by the WEF, UN, WHO, any of the three-letter word organizations you want to put out there. They're all doing it. This is the 10-point charter for the SGI. The SGI will contribute to peace, culture, and education based on the Buddhist teachings, education based on Buddhist, New Age, teaching of respect for the dignity of all life. The SGI will promote an understanding of Nichiren Buddhism through grassroots dialogue and exchange, thereby contributing to the realization of human happiness and well-being. Number 3, the SGI will respect and promote freedom of thought, conscience, and religion coexistence. Number 4, the SGI will, based on the Buddhist spirit of tolerance, respect other religions and philosophical traditions, engaging in dialogue and working together with them toward the resolution of the fundamental challenges confronting humankind. Number 5, the SGI will respect local cultures, customs, and the autonomy of each organization. Each organization will develop its activities in accordance with the law and conditions prevailing in that country or territory, and will encourage its members to contribute to a society as responsible citizens. Number 6, here we go. The SGI will work for peace and a world free from nuclear weapons, and will promote just and sustainable development. SDGs, everybody. Sustainable development. The SGI will safeguard and promote human rights. It will not discriminate against any individual and will oppose all forms of discrimination. It will contribute to the achievement of gender equality and promote the empowerment of women. So in one fell swoop, we got feminism, we got alphabet agenda, and we got social justice. There it is. Number 8, SGI will respect cultural diversity and promote intercultural exchange, thereby contributing to mutual understanding and cooperation among the world's peoples. Number 9, SGI is committed to building a sustainable world for future generations, addressing the climate crisis and protecting and caring for the ecosystems of capital E Earth. Number 10, the SGI will promote education, learning, and scholarship to enable all people to cultivate their individual character and enjoy contributive, fulfilling, and happy lives. The same theme through all of this stuff. And it's connected to the UN, to the WEF, to education, and more. This teaching of New Age continues to roll. People ask how New Age is connected to the higher offices. My response is always, how is it not connected to the higher offices? When you finally understand New Age, what they believe, what they promote, the foundation of it, every whacked out thing that came from Blavatsky, that came from Alice Bailey, that came from Hubbard, that came from the Rockefellers, which we haven't gotten to them yet, we will. That came from Maurice Strong, again, we haven't gotten to him, but we will. That came from, what's his name? Can't even remember his name. Doksai Akita, to John Templeton, to all these people. All those different things that came to these people are all the same foundations of what we see coming in the WEF, the UN, the SDGs, the WHO, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, all these different groups that we see these things coming from are all based on the same New Age belief. Whether they believe it or not themselves, what they're doing is based upon that. They're laying down the beast system upon what will become the one world religion. It is the thing that ties everything together. Do you think it's coincidence that all major authoritarian groups are using climate as the spearhead for the fourth industrial revolution? Do you think that's coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. But all of these groups are using that as the spearhead for it. It's important to have an idea of the flow of this stuff that all stems from the foundation of New Age and Gnosticism. It's important that we understand that. Again, we can talk all about the new technology and the government policies and everything like that, but without understanding of what wraps it all together, we have a bunch of separate random things with a bunch of separate random people that eventually it'll all fall apart if it's not being linked together by one uniting factor. The Satanistic one world religion. It has to be tied together by something, otherwise all of these things and people will all start falling apart. It has to have a uniting factor, a unity factor, in order for it to continue to do what it's doing. We wouldn't be at this point now if it wasn't being led by this. It would have fallen apart years ago. But because it's still working together now and going the way that it is, we understand that there is a satanic spiritual connection to it all. And we're seeing the New Age influence in it, which again stems all the way back from the Garden of Eden and will extend all the way to the one world religion that the Bible tells us is coming. This is a spiritual battle where our way of warning people of what this stuff is and what is coming is the battle. We have to understand what we're fighting. We have to understand what we're fighting, because if we're going to draw people out from it, we have to know what it is. If you don't know what it is, you can't help these people get out of it. And that's a very important thing that we have to understand. So how can we fight the battle if we don't even know what we're fighting? Lord willing, I hope at the end of this series, because again, this is introduction part 2. That's right, guys. We're still in the introduction. Lord willing, I hope at the end of this series, you will see what Gnosticism, New Age, and mystery religion is, and how they play into the coming one world religion. You'll see how the policies and technologies being developed are indeed of the foundations of New Age. You'll recognize mystery and her role in the churches, the climate, and the leadership. And ultimately, you'll have a new outlook on the end times that we're living in right now. Because personally, I thought I had an idea. But when I finally started getting into this stuff, I realized I had no clue. And as I continue to go, I'm still going to realize I have no clue. But I hope as I continue to dig, you guys are going to be willing to go along with me on this journey so we can discover at least a small part of what we're going up against right now while we're still here. Because if you're going to draw somebody out of something so heavily trance-inducing, like New Age, like the NAR, like all of this stuff is, when you're in it, it's just, again, mystery religion is the main proponent, because mystery religion, she's a seductress. She's seducing. And it seduces people when you get into it, because you feel it. You experience it. And when you have that, it's like a drug. You're always looking for that next high. And when you're in the NAR, you're always looking for that next high. When you're in the New Age, you're always looking for that next high. You're looking to experience more. You're looking to experience it over and over again. That's why we talk about things as far as yoga and meditation on New Age, to things like modern worship music and everything involved with fire tunnels and babble tongue and these dreams and stuff on the New Age. It's all about experiencing. It feels good. And a lot of people in the NAR church believe I'm experiencing God. No. You're experiencing a spirit, but it's not the Holy Spirit that you're experiencing. It's a very bad spirit, the spirit of mystery. It makes you feel good, blinds your eyes to it. We're going to go through all of that. This New Age end times, again, it's not just about New Age. Otherwise, I would have just called it New Age. But this is New Age end times, and we're going to explore all of it and how it's involved with everything. Lord willing, of course. I hope we're not even here for next Saturday. I hope the rapture happens then. But if not, this is what we got to do. I can promise you it only gets a lot more interesting and intense from here. I can promise you that. Trust me. There's a few people in the chat that I had to call and talk to this past week because of what I found. And it's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. It's going to be a wild ride. I hope you guys join me with that. But